I will introduce them in order that they will be speaking. Roza Calderon, Michael. Mitchell White, Jessica Morris, and Regina Bateson. So, we will start out with you, Roza, and answer your questions.
Even with heels. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today and for inviting us to this amazing forum. I think one of the things that's overlooked quite often is our elderly community. As you know, I'm running against Tom McClintock, who is a carpetbagger in our own district. And because of that, he has almost no interest in ensuring our securities and our liberties for our futures. I actually grew up in this district. I grew up in Lincoln, California, home of the Fighting Zebras. And like many people, you know, we are supposed to do what we're supposed to do, which is get married, have our children, start our jobs, enter the labor force market, and retire at some point in our lives. And my story goes a little bit the same way. I was married, I had a child, and everything was great until the recession hit. You know, like many other millions of Americans nationwide, I not only lost my home, but I also lost my family life, my job, and I was left with the pieces and told to reinvent myself, and quickly. One of the things I learned while going through all those hardships is something that my mom taught me. Because we don't come from a fortunate place or a place of privilege. Everything that we have has come with great sacrifice. And that sacrifice started when my mother realized that the only opportunity to a good future that my sister and I had was to immigrate to the United States from El Salvador, which is a war-torn country at the time. At 2 years old, we arrived in California, and since then, and until today, I'm a Californian girl. One of the things that I want to address today is what has brought us here. Almost a year ago today, I think I recognize many of the faces in front of me. The engagement in this district has gone from completely absent to almost in your face every single day. Whether McClintock wants to show up here today or not, he knows that you're there every Tuesday and Thursday. He knows that we're still making our phone calls and we're making our faxes. And he knows that we're not going anywhere because we're just getting started. A few things that I want to address for the questions that we were asked, and I'll go in somewhat of an order, but I want to talk about how important it is to make sure that we address Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, that we apply the proper funding for all of those three programs to continue. But with Social Security, we need to revisit and update the formula that we've been working on. A formula that's antiquated and has now kept many of our elderly and people who are of retirement age living under a poverty line, and that is not okay with me. Right now, we have this formula that expected most people to live to 75. But today, the story has changed. Our elderly are living way beyond 75, into the hundreds. And by a show of hands, I'd like to ask you, how many of you are taking care of your elderly parents, or have in the last 5 years? How many of you have had your own children move back home with you to help you out, or because you are actually helping them now? That's a lot of hands, and that's happening nationwide. Today, every single millennial that will be of retirement age will double the retirement age currently that we support through Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. That is an enormous number. And every single answer that we get right now from the GOP is to just slash it and privatize it. And to that I say, no, not under my watch. What we need to do is expand the minimum of the threshold that we have for paying into the Social Security system. I want to make sure that we increase it from the 129, I think is the number changed this year, into $400,000 a year, so that not everybody, so the cap ends at $400,000 of your annual income. And I want to increase it from the 6.4 into 10% and increase that over a period of a decade by increasing it at I guess, at 7% of a percentage from here until then, so that we can properly fund these programs. When it comes to Medicare, I support Medicare expansion for all. I support to make sure that not only that we expand it, but that we improve on it. Not only that, but I want to make sure that we negotiate fair prices for our pharmaceuticals with the Medicare power that we have to negotiate those prices. And I want to make sure that, again, I address the fact that we renew the model that we have. Because by closest estimates today, we know that about every person who's being born today has a 50-50 chance of reaching the age of 100. 100. So if you're telling me that we're having a problem right now funding Social Security and our benefit programs at the age of 65 to 75, then what are we going to do when we extend that period by almost 35 years? We need to address that today. The other thing I want to talk about is that I also support, was I not speaking into the microphone earlier? Because I sound louder. Okay, good. But I want to, like I said earlier, I want to also talk about the cost of living adjustment. That actually just changed this year. As of January 1st, the percentage was increased by 2%, and it helps roughly 66 million people. But that's not enough. It is not enough. Every single day that I'm canvassing this district, I'm running into people who are telling me that their fixed income that they live under is too tight, that they have to think about what groceries they're going to get and even shuffle on the medication they're going to receive. Is that the government that you invested in? Because let me tell you, every single one of us has invested in our government in the form of taxes. And if we look at it as an investment, then where is the return on my investment? Where's the return on your investment and our children's investments? Because all of us have paid into this. So I will fight to strengthen and expand, and fund our programs. I also want to make sure that we strengthen our Social Security disability programs. I want to make sure that we also have the funding available for our Social Security Administration to give people the help they need when they are applying for the beneficiaries, because that is currently one of the first things that they slash in the budget. I want to make sure that we also protect our seniors and our future generations to have access. And one of the reasons why I support Medicare expansion for all is for that particular reason. Because if we expand and work on what we already have, which is a working model of a single payer system, and expand on that, making it stronger, then it's going to help and benefit so many more people. By close estimates, we're talking about $500 billion being saved in the next 10 years if we jump on board with Medicare expansion for all, from birth to the last years. And beyond that, I want to talk about something else. Our pharmaceutical companies and our healthcare companies in the United States have such a stronghold on our politicians that they have permitted themselves to pull funding from us, pull benefits from us, and call them entitlements, and make it seem like we are asking for handouts when it's us who is paying them to treat us this way. And that's something that cannot be allowed to continue, and that is something that McClintock has thrived on. He is somebody who lives off the rhetoric of creating bigger divisions within our nation. I want to talk about one more thing. I know that we heard that 68% of the funding that goes to our nursing homes is brought by Medicaid. The people who are in our nursing homes sometimes do not have anybody else that they can turn to. And these are our disenfranchised groups. These are our most vulnerable groups. And under the Trump administration, we see all of us under enormous attack. I want to make sure that every person here today doesn't stop at this forum, and it doesn't stop at this conversation, but that you continue making sure to keep your elected officials honest, to make sure that they're doing the job that we hired them to do, because they are public servants. As an activist, I will make it my mission to have a voice in Congress for all of us, I will not lean on partisanship and politics to make sure that I'm speaking on behalf of every single person. I think right now we have a two-party system that has failed all of us, keeping many of us living under the poverty line, keeping many of us without access to real health care, keeping us from access to affordable medication. And I'm going to make sure that we fight for every single one of those, for you, for my family, for my daughter, for future generations to come, because that's what's right and that's what we need to do now. Thank you so much for your time.
Rosa, there were a couple of questions that I'd like you to readdress, so I'll give you 1 minute to readdress those questions. That is 1, D, E, and F, as well as the number 3 question. I think the number 3 question is very important to take a different perspective. So if you would like to just take 1 minute and address D, E, and F, I appreciate it.
I wrote my questions on the back of the sheet. I didn't see them here. You said D, E, and F for
Yes.
question 2 or 1?
1.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things that I actually support right now that is in Congress already is, I think the name of the bill is H.R. 3423. And it's a bipartisan piece of legislation that will increase funding, number 1, by recalculating the formula that we currently live under. And that's something that is absolutely important because it will help people with benefits, especially who are living in low-income conditions. The other thing is, as of right now, let's see, I want to take a minute, sorry. You said E, F, okay. Do I support eliminating the windfall exception provision? Absolutely. You know, I think that all of us work for our benefits, work to pay into the system so that at the end of the day, we can retire and live off of those benefits. And that is our security. I think the average American in the United States today has less than $300 in their savings account and about $50 in a 401k account. So tell me how we're going to retire without paying into the benefit system. And the last question, sorry, if I could just take 2 more seconds to address. The top 3 issues that affect us today, again, is making sure that we have affordability within our housing, access to health care, and affordable medicine. Thank you.